Want to welcome everybody today. Wish you all a happy Sabbath, and everybody who's joined us online. If everybody could remain seated as we pray. Holy God, we thank you that you are with us today. We thank you that we have the privilege of being here with you. Be with us and bless us as we continue to study your word. In Jesus' name, amen. This is study number 6. This is the third of my presentations. In yesterday's class, we went to Isaiah chapter 46, and I think it's fair to say that there was some confusion, or at least questions, on the structure of that chapter and verse. Why did we go to Isaiah 46? What drew us there? We're in Revelation chapter 13 and 17. And you are required to understand the structure of those chapters. How the repeating story is laid out to us. There is a singular view from the beginning to the end, which I've called a panoramic view. And there's a dispensational view. You can read in the verses themselves that you're at a specific point in time, which I'm saying by definition means it's a dispensational view of the story that's being given. We didn't go into any great proof, but as you read both chapters, you can see that the point at which you are at is neither the beginning nor the end. So if this was the beginning, this was the end. In both stories, Revelation 13 and 17, we are here, in the middle somewhere. So I call this past, present, and future. Both chapters have the same structure. And because we're here in the middle, we know that there are these repeating concepts or patterns in this story that's being given to us. Yesterday, I chose to call this 1, 2, and 3. You can call them 3 waymarks, or 3 points in this story, the beginning and the end of the story, and somewhere in the middle. And I asked the question, why were these chapters structured in this way? So as we were trying to understand the answer to that question, it seemed prudent to me that we would go to Isaiah 46 to help us. And someone gave us the verse. So that's why we went to Isaiah. Someone asked me that question specifically, so hopefully that answers the sequence of events that took us to Isaiah. Any questions on that? When I asked people here to try to explain how Isaiah works and why it's done this way, we struggled initially to give adequate answers. So there are certain characteristics that you need to understand in order for this to work. If you remember, it was towards the end of the study that we made an important point, or we came to hopefully some kind of agreement. So we redrew the line to look more like this. And we said, in order for this to work, points 2 and 3 need to be close together. And the reason for that is because points 1 and 3 were too far apart. Does anybody have any questions on that? Cobus wanted to give an example from Acts 27. Cobus? And I didn't let him do that. And perhaps I didn't explain well why not. If you have to go to an example to explain your thesis, your idea, you will end up getting into a problem, and you're almost certain to make a mistake. Because some kind of bias or prejudice or preconceived idea will enter into your model. This is why you shouldn't be using even media articles to prove what you believe. They can be used as secondary or tertiary witnesses, but you can't use them initially. So eventually we did go to an example, because I think people weren't getting how this works. Hopefully you'll all remember that we went to the story of Daniel 3. So we had Daniel 3 as the beginning, which is the image of the beast, the statue of Nebuchadnezzar. I use that term because of my own biases, because I think I understand Revelation 13, because the term image of the beast isn't found in Daniel 3. It's not at the beginning, it's at the end. Everybody agree with that? It's a term that comes from Revelation 13. So just to do all that's on the board now, which direction have we gone? Have we gone from the declaring the end from the beginning, or declaring the beginning from the end? First option or second option? Put your hands if it's the first option. Put your hands up if it's the second option. Okay, so hopefully the one person that said it was the first option will be able to explain. Isaiah says, sometime in the past, the beginning, God said something. And what God said, we'll call it a prediction or a prophecy. God says something will happen, and that prediction comes to pass at the end. So there's a prediction, and what would be the end? What would we call that? Shout out one word. Fulfillment. Good. There's a prediction and there's a fulfillment. So at that stage it's relatively straightforward. In the specific example that's given in Isaiah, this prediction, I'm not going to ask what it is, but who's giving the prediction. I'm assuming we generally know, so you can just shout out that answer. One word. Who is giving the prediction? Nobody knows? Someone said? Which one? Shout out louder. Someone said Daniel? Who was alive first, Daniel or Isaiah? Isaiah? So it couldn't have been Daniel. Daniel's not even born yet, I don't think. Someone else. We talked about it this morning. But he already knew. So I assumed this is not a new study. So when it was first taught, many, many years ago, the teacher directed the students to the actual passage that's the prediction. If it's Moses, can someone tell me the book? I'll ask another question. What is the prophecy that Isaiah is directing us to? Punishment. So let's go back to the book. Which book? Deuteronomy. Okay, so in the book of Deuteronomy, Moses is going to predict, despite all of these good things that God's going to do for you, has done for you, you're going to break the covenant. When that happens, you're going to get punished. So it's in Deuteronomy that prophecy is given. So that's what Isaiah 46 is. Standard Protestant view. And we're going to do something very different in the movement. We're going to change the words of the verse. Because this verse says, God sees everything right from the beginning all the way through history to the end. That's what the verse actually says. A prediction and a fulfillment. We don't do that. What do we do? When we say Alpha and Omega. And someone used in a question, I think it was yesterday, said the line of restoration. And I said, what is that? And the person said, line of restoration is? The person said, so shout out. Whoever you were. I'll give you a clue. Begins with E. Eden to Eden, thank you. So we turn Isaiah 46 into like an Eden to Eden model, which isn't just a prediction and a fulfillment, is it? So I'm going to do this and say points. There's a prediction and it's going to point to the fulfillment. We don't say the beginning points to the end. We say they're equal. Eden and Eden, they're the same thing. So there's something at the beginning that looks the same as the end. And that's different to a thus saith the Lord of verse 10. Are we okay with that? Except Curtis.
So the verse says one thing, and I get the logic, what we do. I understand that. But what steps do you go to reinvent the verse into that?
So I was careless when the way I just expressed it now. A clever person could actually read the King James words and get what we do. Perhaps I was being overly kind to a Protestant view of this. In reality, I don't think you need to manipulate the words that much to get to where we were. Okay? So, we just did Eden to Eden, but we're in Revelation. So, what do we want to do? Not going to do Eden to Eden in Revelation. We're not in Isaiah now. We've just used Isaiah as a template and a model. What would we put now in Revelation 13, 17? Let me check before I send you on a wild goose chase. Just make sure that we can get it. So did you say something? I'm hoping someone else will. Just the two words with the same word. Nobody wants to even have a guess. Just tell me it'll be one word. Just shout out one word. Oh, the question again. Isaiah 46. A basic reading says it points to. The beginning points to the end, which is prediction and fulfillment. And they're not the same thing. I'll put they. They say this. We say it's equal. Because when we read the verse, we can read verse 10 and we can see equals. If you can't see equals in the verse, you can't do any of this. So I'm labouring the point because it's not sufficient for us to just say we understand what the end looks like. I want us to know how we do that. And whether you realize it or not, a lot of what we understand today, what we teach, is built upon these concepts, these models. So when you do equal, so when Elder Tess did Eden to Eden, she's doing all of this, even if she didn't know she was doing it, or if she didn't explain it to you. I believe she understood what she was doing, but she didn't take the opportunity to explain it. That's not what her role was. So, Eden to Eden. Give me one from Revelation 17. Just one word. Like Eden, Eden. Okay, give us a verse. We're in chapter 17. Verse. Verse 8. I don't know what verse 8 says, but verse 8. So, if you were going to say verse 8, Tato, what's the word?
I'm trying to get there myself now. Curtis can answer.
How do you know it was verse 8 if you don't know what the word was?
Because of
Doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Tell me what the word is.
no, I was just guessing, but then let me try.
It was a bad guess.
Okay, let me try. I think it's
I want
was.
one word.
Was.
Was.
Yes.
So you want me to put was?
Was and is, yes.
Who's speaking?
It's me. I'll say that was and is.
Is?
One word. Oh, you want one word.
Curtis is changing his mind. Someone over here had their hand up. So I'm going to erase those. Just one word.
It's beast.
Beast. So beast to beast. I thought she was laughing. Verse 5. Babylon. To Babylon. Verse 5. Upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon. We okay? If you're happy with Babylon to Babylon, I want to just I'm not. It wasn't a big point. There may be others. It's not a big point. At the back, there's two hands. No, the microphone.
Oh, I was asking if you can please repeat the question.
Yes. For whom?
For me and others who didn't get it properly.
Okay. It's because you both had hands. I wasn't sure if you heard something. So Isaiah 46 says there's a prediction and there's a fulfillment of the prediction. In the future, you're going to be really bad and God's going to punish you. Useful. It's useful, but not particularly helpful. If we could understand the verse to mean the beginning looks like the end, it becomes very useful. Start again. So if we could say that the beginning actually looks like the end. It's not just predicting the end. Then the verse becomes really useful. It's a methodology or a technique that you can take anywhere with you. And you can open up any concept or any verse or any story. So we go from points to beginning points to the end and makes it the beginning equals the end. I gave you an example that Elder Tess used, Eden to Eden. I want to remind us, we say Elder Tess did that, but if you've been in this movement any length of time, you know that we used to teach this long before. He just took an old study and tidied it up and refined it, which you're required to do to make sense of them. And then I asked, can we come up with one? And I think a good one in the study that we're doing is Babylon to Babylon. Everybody okay with that? So if I were to just throw something into this mix, so we've got this arrow that points the beginning to the end. And then what you can do is to say if the beginning is the same as the end, we developed this even further in the past. And we said it's the daily or the continual. If we're okay with that. We know specifically that this is the woman. So this is a really old study that was done. So the woman is the daily. She's Babylon at the end, she's Babylon at the beginning. And if you're willing to see it, the statue of gold says that it's Babylon all the way through. Okay. So that's why we did that. That's okay. You have to be able to see or know that number 2 and number 3 have to be close to each other. Otherwise, these rules don't work. Number 1, when we do Eden to Eden or Babylon to Babylon, it sounds really good. But it's really easy to make mistakes. We still use the term Sunday law. We know there's no law and there's no Sunday. So, I was asked a question. In the past, like last week past, we used to say that the message or the test is about equality. When did that change? That was the question. Because it's clear now that we don't even talk about equality anymore. We talk about Elections. Got these 5 people talking about politics and elections, so something must have changed in the movement. And nobody told the person. Nobody told them that we'd changed our message. That was their question. Is that correct? So the problem is, if you don't understand the relationship between 2 and 3, the necessity of having a structure that works that way, when you get to number 3, you won't know that you're there. Because we don't know if our test is elections or equality or what. So we need something to help us. I don't want to make number 2 a specific waymark. You can, and it could be a different waymark depending on the point that you're making. What I want us to see is number 2. When is it? Let's answer that. It's in the present. When I say today, it's not literally today, we know that. So number 2 has to be in the present. And it has to be close to number 3. So close that you can see something about 3 already. So it has to be today, and it has to be close to number 3. Otherwise it won't work. And then what you see today is telling you about the future, which sounds very similar to 1 and its relationship to 3. So we discussed that. What we weren't clear about, which we should already know, we have a line, 3 waymarks. Where should we have started? That's all I drew. Where would you start? We didn't do it that way because I asked questions. When we ask questions, we get gaps in our knowledge base. So this is where we should have started. Need some help? What is this? It's a line.
It's a sequence, which is a structure.
It's a sequence, it's a structure. What is it? What are the 2 words? What is it a sequence of, or what is it a structure of? So
It's a sequence or the structure of something else. It's a repeat.
A repeat. So what I want is once I draw this, and you need to know this, is you realize that this is a story. Does everybody know this is a story? That's what lines are, stories. It's a story of what? That's what you need to know. What is the story? Otherwise, 1, 2, 3 don't really do much for you. So I've called it a story. What else can we call it? Because people think differently. Or sometimes the word story wouldn't be appropriate. So this line is a story. And another word we might use. Shout. History. If someone said history, I'd want to know the history of what? And all I need to do is just do that. His story. And it's history. So history is a story. So I'm going to use the word theme. What is the theme of this line? Or what is the story about? Okay, so we're doing Daniel 3, the one we spoke about yesterday. You can either, whatever works good for you, you can story or theme, however you conceptualize it. What is this story or this theme? How can we define the story or the theme? So, the question was, how do we know what the theme or the story is? And where are we? In Revelation 17 or 13. So we want to look for a theme or a story. Yes. So that's why I said when you have a line, you need to know what the story is or the theme of that line is. So it's in your notes because we did it yesterday. It's revision. You're looking at your notes. Yeah, you're trying to notes. Good. Someone besides Cobus. Go ahead with the mic.
Is it power struggle?
Again, sorry.
Power struggle.
Power struggle. Do you remember we spoke about that? Is that what you were going to say, Cobus? So we can call it, we'll start with power struggle. I'm not going to go into the details of it. So Elder Shemaine said she thought that the idea of power struggle was Daniel 3. Is she correct? Yes. So when we get to the stage where we're at now in our experience, it becomes really difficult to know where to start a study. Because what you'll find is most of the time now we'll do it backwards. Because we know the answers. We're just playing games to fill in data. So I said Revelation 17, and she says, I thought we're doing Daniel 3. So we're worried about the end of the world. And is Daniel 3 about the end of the world? No. It's a story about 3 men who are threatened with death. Revelation is definitely about the end of the world. It tells you that. So we're in Revelation 17. Which verse? Someone said, can you put the verse down, please? So I put it down for them. They're not going to speak anymore. So we're in verse 5. And we found the word what? We found Babylon. So we start in the book of Revelation. Then we go to Revelation 17. Then we go to verse 5. And we see Babylon. And we say, that's interesting. Because Babylon died a long time ago. Babylon died. And then you remember, in the book of Daniel, there's something going on in Daniel. What's going on in Daniel? What's going on? So, in Daniel, she said power struggle, sorry. God says to the king, what? What did God say to the king? Mike?
That Babylon would end.
Babylon's going to end. We all agree with that? And Nebuchadnezzar said, no. He said, Babylon's going to go right to the end. And was he correct? Yes, he's correct. Revelation 17:5 proves it. So that's how you get from Revelation back to Daniel. That discussion between Nebuchadnezzar and God is chapter 2 and chapter 3. Chapter 2 is God? No. Chapter 3 is Nebuchadnezzar? Yes. So we've got Daniel 2 and 3. God and Nebuchadnezzar? No and yes. So that's how we get to Daniel 3. There's a power struggle between 2 gods, the God we serve and Nebuchadnezzar. And because Nebuchadnezzar can't touch God, it's going to touch God's citizens. So there's a power struggle at a human level and at a divine level, if we can say. because Nebuchadnezzar is both a human and a god. So that's how we get from Revelation to Daniel. So, as Elder Shemaine just told us, it's the beginning that's going to give you the theme, not the end. So there's a power struggle that we've just described. And you've already read Revelation 17. Which was Daniel 3. And you already see a power struggle in Revelation 17. I'm guessing. We can look if you want to. If you insist. Um, 16. You didn't ask me what verse it was in chapter 3. It's obvious. Okay, I got verse 16 and 17. There are probably others. No, wait to 14. That's a clear one. Are you happy with 14? Okay. So 17, 14. There's a power struggle. And 16 and 17. Just both work. Okay, so all of that is to show the steps that you take. And we skipped all of that yesterday. But all that was built into when Curtis said power struggle. So the theme of this line is a power struggle. You see a power struggle at the beginning and the end. 1 and 3. And number 2. That's the key. So you have to see this power struggle all the way through. If you don't, you've done something wrong. And this is close. And what that does for you is the power struggle 3,000 years ago doesn't look like the power struggle at the end. If you want to understand what the power struggle at number 3 is, you have to get close to number 3. Today, you have to see what's going on in the world. What's going on in the world? Not literally today, but today, a couple of years ago. Some important things that are going on that everyone's talking about. Elections, not elections. Things that aren't to do with our line. I'll give you one. Climate change. So was climate change a big issue? I mean, it's really serious. Number 2, it's happening at number 2. So then you say, number 3, the Sunday law is about Climate change. So that's why it's important to understand that you have a theme. Because if you go to Daniel 3, there's nothing about taking care of the earth. So the several things that are happening. Give me another one. Loud. Immigration. So, immigration is a difficult one because you've got immigrants in Daniel 3. So, in the same way I didn't want to do elections, I don't want to do immigration because they're the real ones. Tell me something at 2 that is the wrong answer, not the right ones. So I'm going to put immigration tick, because Pretender gave that to me. And I'm going to put election, because Cobus gave that to me, but I don't want those ones. One more. Pandemic. COVID, pandemic. It's not the beginning. It's not part of the theme. You know it's not the great test. Erase that. It's not number 3. I'm sorry. That was for online. I'm sorry. Another one? In Europe? War. Is it war? No. There's no war going on at the beginning. There's a power struggle, but it's not war in the way we understand war to be. So you have to get to a place today that the 10 things that are happening in the world, that you pick the right ones. We'll stop here because there are plenty other ones. But I just wanted to show the problem that confronts you. It's not an insult to anybody. We're at a facility here today, and I think there's about 5 churches scattered around us. Online, we're in a large facility, and they hire halls at this facility, and there's several church functions going on today. And they're all happy, praising God, and they all think they've got the truth. Just like us in our little room. And it's just so easy to get things wrong and to think that we know and we have the truth when we don't. So today, number 2, there's plenty of things happening, and a lot of them are wrong. So that's why it's important to follow these rules. Okay, so we've got power. And number 2, you have to find something that's this theme. And it's not that straightforward to do that. It's easy to just throw out power struggle and it all looks good, but to get there isn't that easy. what's important to understand, we're here, number 2. It has to be close to. We have to see today's telling you about the future. Has to be the right theme. We've got that. Because there's plenty of things going on today. And no, Curtis didn't like this. I'm going to say 2 equals 3. The problem is when I say equals, it fixes in your mind because it's so simple. But we know they're not identical. And the reason why it's important to understand the connection between 2 and 3, because 3 has to look like 2. What's going on at number 2? What's happening at number 2? Tina.
I have a question not related to what you asked.
So let's just finish this bit, if you can remember your question. What's happening at number 2? We should all shout out the answer now. Power struggle. Yeah? They're not trick questions. So at number 2, there's a power struggle. Now that power struggle has a particular dynamic to it. Is the dynamic of the power struggle at number 2 the same as number 1? Put your hands up if it's yes. Online, no one put their hand up. It's different, yes? Everyone says yes. The power struggle looks different to number 1. And we know the power struggle in number 3 is going to be different to number 1. And now we have nothing. We've just got 3 power struggles. And we can't connect them. So it seems to me, or I'm suggesting, that the power struggle at number 2, its relationship to number 3 is what? It's the same. We'll call it the dynamics. The dynamic of the power struggle at 2, which you can see. That's not prophecy. It's not prediction. It's in the news. What you see now is war. It's not climate change. It's a power struggle between 2 kingdoms. Kingdom of God, kingdom of Satan. Do we agree with that? And that power struggle at number 2 looks very different to number 1. So different that you wouldn't even be able to connect them together. Everybody okay with that? The magic or the key to doing all of this is that number 2 and number 3 are so close together We'll call it the dynamic. The dynamic of the power struggle at 2 is the same as the dynamic of the power struggle at number 3. If it's not the same, you haven't got anywhere. It's based upon that assumption. I want to call it a thesis, because an assumption is like a guess. The reason why it's not a guess is what? What makes it not a guess? 1 to 3 would be a guess. Why is 2 to 3 not a guess? Because? Because they're close together. We all got that? That's the key to unlock all of this. So, if you want to understand what's going on at the end, number 3, has to have the exact same properties as the issue at number 2. Not number 1. But with respect to number 1, there has to be a power struggle. And that power struggle has, at number 2 and number 3, has to be the same theme as number 1. That all sounds simple, but it depends what subject you want to go to. Someone said immigration. So if you want to go to immigration, you could do that. But if you want to go to number 1 and say, this is not a story about immigration. This is a story about the great controversy of 2 kingdoms. So number 2 must have that property. So at number 2, you have to see 2 kingdoms at war. Number 1, we could say they're immigrants, but they got their citizenship. 3 people, yeah. They're citizens. They're actually, I think they're almost princes of Babylon now. Well, definitely wise men. And only Babylonians can take that role. So now, it's a power struggle that's internal to Babylon. So that's why I said you could make an immigration story, but you could also make it not an immigration story. Now, if number 3, what is number 3? It's I'll show you the graphic here. What's number 3? So I'm just reading out what it says on the board. Sunday law. We know the Sunday law is what verse? Book, chapter, verse. Is someone saying something to me? Or is that translated? Book. Daniel. We've got some technical problem. It's all good. Switch back in. click back in. Daniel? What? Battery? Oh. Daniel? Are we on the same page? 11? 41. She'll enter also into the glorious land. In many countries she'll be overthrown. We okay? So, the Sunday law, I'm going to do this backwards, which is the wrong way, of course. Where is this power struggle? Where is the power struggle? At number 3. The glorious land. In the USA. So number 3 is in the USA. Number 1 is where? In Babylon. I call it the glorious land. So the 2 has to have the same properties. Has to be in a country where you have some internal struggle. And how do we know what country number 3 is? Now we're coming out of that and doing it properly. How do you know what country number 3 would even be? You can follow all these steps like we did here. It says Revelation. It went all the way down. You'll get to the place where you can demonstrate that it's the USA number 3 and it will be the USA number 2. We're not going to say something's happening in Timbuktu which points to something in the USA. Can't do that. So what do we know today? There has to be a power struggle between 2 kingdoms, kingdom of God, kingdom of Satan. Has to be happening in the United States internally. And it's not immigrants that are fighting. So we can get all of those properties today. So all you need to do before the Sunday law is pick up the newspaper, see 2 kingdoms fighting against each other in the United States. You'll know one of them's good and one of them isn't. And once you just get to that stage, it defines what number 3 will be. So we could probably all do it if we wanted to right now, which we won't. And the power struggle at number 3 between these 2 kingdoms at 2 levels, spiritual and human to human. But Nebuchadnezzar is both a human. No, Nebuchadnezzar is a human, thinks they're a god, and they're going to fight with a heavenly being and a human being. You can get all of that relatively straightforward. Just look at it today, which was a couple of years ago. So we all understand that. If we all believe we're in the Sunday law history, this is past when I say today. The reason why this is important is because it gives you the tools to accurately predict what number 3 will look like, what its properties will be. One more point, and then I'll open up to questions. Tina had one, if it's not too late. This power struggle at number 2, it has to have certain properties. Where did it borrow those properties from? I just said borrow, which is not very good, but shout out. Number 1. I heard that. It gets the properties from number 1. So, what are some of the properties at number 1? Because the properties at number 2, they have to be the same as number 1. And when you pinpoint the property, you'll see its present fulfillment at number 2. And that will then dictate or control the property at number 3. It can't be different. Who didn't understand what I just said? Okay, so almost everybody didn't understand what almost 2 people didn't understand what I just said. Which bit did you didn't understand, Regina? The mic. Because obviously my question isn't straightforward.
It's just your last statement.
So I didn't understand. Sorry?
Your last statement, what you said.
The last step.
Yes.
Okay? Curtis?
Are you saying that things happen in number 2 and it reflects what happened in number 1? As in it's the same?
Yes. Saying yes to that.
And then what you're looking for is the same thing in number 3.
Yes.
So what's the difference? Why does number 2 become necessary?
Because number 3 is so far away from number 1, you wouldn't be able to see the connection between the two. Sorry, yeah, between the two of them. Sorry. If you didn't have number 2. So, at number 1, question at the back? Tato.
Okay, I think I see what's...
Are you asking me a question now or making a statement?
Oh, I'm making a statement on...
On what?
On how 2 is close to 3, but we cannot...
Stop, she's not even translating. She hasn't even started.
Sorry.
Start again and just carry on.
So I think I get what's happening. We cannot just say what's going to happen at number 3. By just taking everything that happened in number 1, or so number 2 is necessary. but it has to take its foundations from number one. Then that's when you'll know that you'll make a correct prediction to number 3. Yes, thanks.
And number 1, there's a law which dictates how to behave. Is that a reasonable statement? Some rules that says this is what you are required to do. Did anybody break the rules? I don't mean did they follow it or not follow it. I'm not asking that. Does everybody follow the rules? Yes. All follow the rules. So if we take that idea and then we bring it to number 2, we say there are rules to follow. And does everybody follow the rules? Yes. So that means in number 3, in the power struggle, one of the characteristics that you will know defines number 3 rules to follow, and it will be yes. So if I say there's rules that you follow, if we said yes or we said no, what other word could we use? When we think about law. Legal or is that how you spell it? Illegal? Legal or illegal? That's the question. And the answer is in the theme of the power struggle, the answer is what at number 1? Were things done legally or illegally? Put your hands up if it's legal. Put your hands up if it's illegal. Nebuchadnezzar wrote a law and everybody followed the law. Sorry? Doesn't matter. If you're forced to do it, makes no difference. If you get the mark of the beast in your hand or your forehead, you get it. Which means if you get the seal of God in your hand or your forehead, you get it. That's a different story. If it's duress or not, it's still legal. The boys didn't say, we're going to write some new laws and follow those ones. There'll be one law and everyone's going to follow that law, whether you agree or disagree with it. Curtis? I know we're out of time.
Just to confirm what you've said, it was legal for Nebuchadnezzar to make that law. Yes?
Yes. So I'm going to say legal. That's going to be the controlling theme for this line. Where today, there's power struggles going on. Today, not literally. We've got some modeling of what that power struggle is. We've already described that. Ruler to God, ruler to human, or subjects. Is it legal or illegal? Has to be legal. And therefore, because we're so close to number 3, whatever the power struggle at number 2 is, that is being managed legally, the same power struggle, the power struggle has to be identical at number 3, and it has to have the same properties. I'm suggesting, not the only, I'm suggesting, this is how you get the properties of number 3. The better you are at this, the more guesswork you take out. Methodology takes away assumptions. So, what was your question, Tina? I may or may not answer it, if you still remember.
I was asking about the power struggle. I was asking about the power struggle. Is it between the God and the people, or the subjects, or between two kingdoms of this earth?
The power struggle, depending on the story you're telling, is the great controversy between Satan and God, Satan's agents and God's agents. It's between Nebuchadnezzar and God, and it's between Nebuchadnezzar and the citizens or the subjects. So in our specific story, it's this. So the king is fighting against God and controlling the citizens in a way that isn't right, or fighting against citizens. You could just get that and develop it further and further, and it just gets closer and closer to the answer. Because God, there's only, when I say that, I don't mean literally there's only one God. There's only one side when it comes to the fight for God, with God. There's 2 types of citizens, aren't there? Citizen 1 and Citizen 2. Citizen 1 will bow, and Citizen 2 refuses. That's the power struggle.
Just to follow up. So we're seeing the same properties in number 2. That's a question.
Yes. But yes is too simplistic. Because you have to trust everything I've just got on the board there. I'm not proving it. But that, I hope that answers your question.
So would it be fair to say that in Daniel 2, Nebuchadnezzar has this dream? And he's currently king of a kingdom that operates in a specific way. So we can just call that kingdom 1. Because it operates in a specific way. Because it operates in a specific way. And then we get to Daniel 3, and he says, I want to operate in a different way. And because he changes the way the kingdom operates, it's a new kingdom. So kingdom 2. And so the struggle, I appreciate you said it's between Nebuchadnezzar and the citizens. But could you see it as a power struggle between two kingdoms? It's a bit difficult because Nebuchadnezzar is the same person. But if you just see it as him wearing 2 hats. See it as him wearing 2 hats.
My answer to your question is that this is your study number 1 in a couple of days that you're going to do. I don't think the group here know that Nebuchadnezzar rules Babylon differently between chapter 2 and chapter 3. I don't know if they all have a consciousness of that. So you'd have to show that. Okay, I want to thank everybody. Let's close with prayer. Holy God, we thank you that you've guided and directed us through this hour. I thank you that you have taught me. And I pray that each of us have been benefited and blessed. May each of us remember the sacredness of this day. As we enjoy each other's fellowship. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.